Welcome to another podcast. Again, this week it's one man with too much spare time. Obviously, we're coming back to this NBA 2K simulations that we had put together for the teams that myself and Nick had picked a few weeks ago now, and we're gonna let 2K go away and decide which team ultimately that we've picked is the best team out there for these new franchises that we've been tasked to start up. I guess we've put these polls online for the last 2 weeks now, so anyone that wanted to jump online and have a vote, the results are below for these polls. And I guess let's jump into some of these 2K simulations. So as a bit quick recap here, we had the Western team, Nick in the West, with a salary of about 209 million, headlined by the starting five with Luka and LeBron, and obviously Anthony Edwards, Brandon Ingram, and Anthony Davis. In the West, we had a team that I had selected, which had Nikola Jokic and Steph Curry, along with Ja Morant, Devin Booker, and Zion Williamson. In the East, Nick had the first pick, and he had built his team around Giannis and surrounded by KD, Trae Young, Jimmy Butler, and Scotty Barnes. And in the East, I had a bit of a younger team, with up and coming talent, headlined by Jason Tatum, Joel Embiid, and LaMelo Ball, DeJounte Murray, and Jaylen Brown. So with the simulations, obviously, I explained in the last video how they were going to be set up. So if you wanted to understand how I had sort of put these teams together, check out the last video and the videos that we picked, obviously, these teams a while ago now. The links are below. But let's jump into some of these screenshots that I had pulled up from the PlayStation. So I guess the first one here we are looking at is the Western Conference standings at the end of November. And obviously Nick's team, which were the Rockets, has jumped out to a quick start here in the West, and obviously leading the conference. But only half a game ahead of obviously my team, being the Kings. We then had the Timberwolves, and this is obviously with Gobert that's gone over there now with Cat and D'Angelo Russell. They've obviously, only a game behind. Lakers surprisingly seem competitive, and this is obviously pre Donovan Mitchell being traded at the Jazz. So, they're up there in the mix as well, along with the Pelicans, which is probably a little bit surprising. Jumping over to the East here, at the end of November, we've got Detroit, or Knicks team in the East, starting 14-0. That's a hot start there, 14 in a row to begin with. Philly with now Harden and Simmons, obviously headlining the two-man team there, obviously second in the East. And then my pick in the East here, a third, 2.5 games behind, followed by Brooklyn with Kyrie, and only Kyrie, I guess. And obviously the Raptors and the Knicks making an appearance there in the top six. If we jump over to the end of December here, we've got Knicks team in the West still leading the conference by about half a game from the T-Wolves. The Rockets are 3 games behind now. And the Lakers and Grizzlies are sort of sticking around in that mix. The Clippers obviously with John Wall now, in addition with Kawhi and Paul George, obviously rounding out the 6 teams in the West. In the East here, we've got at the end of December, the Pistons have finally lost a few games, 27-2, and continue to have a few games lead, obviously, on the Sixers and the Magic. And the Knicks seem to have found a winning formula with Jalen Brunson by the looks of it. And obviously the Raptors and the Nets in the top 6 there. So we jump over to the new year. In the West here, we've got the Kings continuing to pace the, they've actually overtaken the Rockets here in the West. T-Wolves continue to hang around, and followed by sort of the Lakers and the Grizzlies. and the Clippers continue to stay in that top 6 chase. Just trying to think here with the Grizzlies, who's sort of really remaining in the Grizzlies. It's probably a surprising sort of team to be 5th in the West at the moment, considering Ja Morant and Jaren Jackson are both not on that team. In the East here in January, we've obviously got the Pistons continuing to, lead the conference, but the Magic here have put together a bit of a run. They're only 2 games behind here, overtaking the Sixers and the Raptors, and the Knicks continue to stick around, and the Bulls now sort of pop into the top 6. Turning the page into February now, in the West here, the Kings continue to hold a 2-game lead over the Rockets. And obviously the Kings team there with Steph Curry and Jokic, you would sort of imagine that they should be up there in the standings in a sense with that sort of talent, on that team. T-Wolves, Lakers, Grizzlies, and the Clippers continue to be the top 4 teams that round out the 6. In the East here, the Pistons the Pistons and Magic actually got a tied record. It looks like it's going to be a close call here at the end of February. The Sixers, obviously headlined by Harden, continue to stick around that 3rd spot, but they're 10 games behind now. And the Raptors, the Bulls have jumped up a spot here, followed by the Nets in the top 6. We're now at the end of March, obviously. A couple of teams now started to clinch playoff spots here. The Rockets have jumped over the Kings. It's been a bit of a up and down for both these teams. It's only 1 game in it, but they've got the 1-game lead now. T-Wolves also have clinched that playoff spot. So it seems like definitely the Gobert trade in the eyes of 2K is a positive net gain there for the Timberwolves. The Lakers and the Grizzlies and the Jazz once again sort of pop into the top 6, which is great, I guess. Clearly Donovan Mitchell is a winner, right? In the East here, the Magic and the Pistons, unsurprisingly, have clinched playoff spots too. Only half game in it. This also is going to go down to the wire, which sort of really illustrates, I guess, all these teams that we've picked. We've, I guess, made some reasonably good picks, considering we had very little restrictions in how we did pick. Let's be clear, but they're definitely 2 of the top teams in each conference at the moment. Sixers, Raptors, Nets, and Bulls continue to round out the top 6 in the East. All right, and at the end of April, the end of the regular season here, final standings here. Basically, the Rockets have won the West by a game, just a game in it. 66-16 record. Nothing to sneeze at there. Clearly, Luka and LeBron. Plenty of all-round talent there. Just they're getting that 1 game up on the Kings here. Timberwolves 54-28. So, hitting that 50-win sort of bracket is a, great achievement there. Followed by Lakers, Grizzlies, and the Jazz. And obviously over into the East here, at the end of April, end of the regular season, the Magic have won the East. So I'm pleased with that. 4 games up actually on Detroit. Pretty pleased with my picks there, considering I did pick 2nd in the Eastern Conference. Can't complain that been able to take out the East there. Obviously 53-29 for the 76ers. James Harden has clearly shown some level of MVP form, I would imagine, according to 2K here. The Raptors, Bulls, and the Nets all round out the top 6 here in the East. So that sets up the playoff picture here, which I actually don't know if the latest 2K, I haven't seen it yet, sort of factors in the play, and maybe someone can tell me that, with the top 10 teams and the obviously brackets 7 through to 10 having to play in a simulation. I'd imagine that would be the accurate way to portray the NBA nowadays. But obviously this was before the plan. And so we got top 8 teams here. Nice simple format as it was for many years. And obviously Houston has the top seed, followed by the Kings in the West. Then we've got the Timberwolves and the Lakers. The Lakers obviously taking on Memphis Grizzlies. We've got the Minnesota Timberwolves taking on the Utah Jazz. That's actually a pretty good grudge match there, right? That's literally Rudy Gobert versus Donovan Mitchell. Then obviously we got Sacramento taking on the Clippers, which is a bit of a loaded team to finish in the seventh seed in a sense. If well, assuming in the simulation, the players would stay healthy there with PG and Kawhi and John Wall now there as well. And then we've got Portland, obviously in the eighth seed here. Good to see them return back to the playoff picture there. Obviously, Damian Lillard and the supporting team there that he has got now without CJ McCollum, obviously. Over in the East here, we got the Magic finished in the first seed, which clearly, never happens in real life, right? And not foreseeable future at this point. But we're playing Milwaukee in the first round. This is Milwaukee, obviously, without Giannis. So I guess Middleton and Drew Holiday are still sort of showing that they're a playoff contending team, even without their MVP Greek freak in their lineup in that first round matchup. Then we've got the 4-5 bracket here, Toronto and Chicago. Then we got the Philly Brooklyn matchup, which is another great little grudge match there, really. Obviously Harden now in Philly, and Ben Simmons now in Brooklyn. And obviously the last matchup here is Detroit Knicks Eastern Conference team versus the New York Knicks. So I guess Stephen A should be happy that the Knicks here in the playoffs, even though they're probably looking like playoff fighter. So jumping across a few stats, because that's what we all love here about 2K, right? When we run these simulations on the whole season, and let's have a look at a few stats here. So I guess the first one here is the Houston Rockets, in the West, obviously led by Luka and LeBron, both averaging over 20 points a game. AD also 21.5 points a game and 10 rebounds. Definitely had a solid season there. And then obviously the fourth highest scorer on that team was Brandon Ingram. Probably no real surprise there, and obviously rounded out by Anthony Edwards. So literally, I think that was the starting five that Nick had picked. So some solid picks there, I guess, on his behalf. And it was really sort of interesting to see the sort of the percentages that they're all shooting as well. It's this is why it's 2K, right? Jumping over to my team here in the West, which was the Sacramento Kings, obviously. Jokic, 19.8 points a game, 13 rebounds, and 10 assists, joins the triple-double club. Yeah, that's a quality stat there, I guess. And obviously shooting at 53% as well. So obviously Zion Williamson's put together, looks like a fairly healthy season, 19 points a game as well. Followed by Booker, Curry, and CJ McCollum. And it's interesting, I guess, firstly, again, looking at the percentages that some of these players shot, like Zion shooting at 71%. I guess we know he's a bit of an interior player, but, some crazy stats here in this simulation. And also the fact that, considering the talent in his team, there was not a single player here that averaged over 20 points a game. So, it's a bit of an interesting observation. Jumping over here into the East and Knicks team, which obviously was the highest scorer for Knicks team was Trae Young at just under 25 points a game and 10 assists. Sort of pretty solid Trae Young numbers, I think. Giannis obviously also put up 24 points a game, 12 rebounds and 6 assists. That's sort of his standard production at the moment. You would expect every given night. KD, 21 points a game. Seems to have, dropped his scoring off a little bit, I guess, with such a deep team. And then obviously Jimmy Butler and RJ Barrett, obviously in the top 5 in scoring for Knicks Eastern Conference Detroit Pistons team. And then we have my Eastern Conference team here, the Orlando Magic, that did finish first in the conference here. Obviously Tatum, 21.6 points a game, and Embiid, literally nothing in it. We'll play the two main scorers here, clearly, in these stats here. Lonzo Ball had a solid season. You'd sort of feel he'd probably average more than 5 assists a game. With so much talent around him, wouldn't he? Like he's already averaging nearly up to 10 a game with the current squad he has around him. Surely he would be averaging a double there. Jaylen Brown and Pascal Siakam ran up the top 5 scorers on this squad here that did finish first in the East. And so for everyone else that was wondering, here is the stats for all the other players. So obviously in this simulation, there's a level of, I guess, how the teams balance out when you take players from a team and stash them into another team and ultimately form some level of 4 super teams. So Lillard looks like he's just gone crazy this season. He's obviously healthy and back with a vengeance, 37 points a game. Surely he's in the MVP consideration, right? And obviously Jokic obviously with a triple double average for the season too. Bradley Beal looks like he's come back, found his shooting touch again. Shooting over 50% there and averaging 33 points a game. Kyrie, again, without KD there, you'd imagine if the ball goes through him in literally every possession that, he's obviously gonna get his points. And Harden obviously has sort of regained his MVP form by the looks of it. Once again, removing Joel Embiid and making the Sixers literally his team. So I guess it's play almost the same sort of formula that he had for many years at the Rockets. And then finally, the top 5 scorers in the league ultimately rounded up by Zach LaVine, which is probably not too surprising considering the talent that he is when he's healthy. So this leaves that suspenseful moment to end today's video on that literally who did win the MVP. And I was a little bit shocked. Awarded to the best performing player of the NBA regular season as voted by a panel of sport writers, media members, and a fan vote. Giannis is now a 3-time MVP. Despite his fairly pedestrian stats, and despite the fact that Pistons didn't even win the East, what's going on, 2K? Surely there are some more deserving, but let's not knock the Greek freak. So well done to him. He's obviously picked up his 3rd MVP here.